Right now, Oz is going to come onto stage. She's a product creator and an active mentor for startups and product professionals. She's a fractional CPO and consults at DragonCanFly, a Web3 strategy and creative agency. So let's bring her onto stage to talk about how to go starting from scratch. Thank you, Oz, and a round of applause.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So we are here today to go together, hand in hand, in your journey to starting from scratch. So this is my career journey. I started in corporate training. I was identified by a fellow product manager that said that I come with too much feedback, and I should come behind the scenes and build it myself. I moved from there to actually being a product manager. From there, another product management role, and then another product marketing role. And then I moved to an operational role, and from there to another product management role. And if you think I finished there, no. I received a relocation offer where I could manage both product management and product marketing. From there, I moved to head innovation and research. From there, I moved to do a product management role, and then another product management role. Today, I'm a fractional CPO, an author, and a speaker. And as you can see, starting from scratch is not new to me. And the reason I am here today with you is to actually tell you about both my story as well as how you can start from scratch. Now, it does not matter if you are actually starting from zero or you start from experience. What matters is your starting from scratch mentality. So the reason I was successful at starting from scratch wasn't my smarts or my quick wit. It's actually because I have a method. And I'm going to walk you through that method today. So imagine this is me. I didn't have a picture of myself in a cubicle. I was at work several years ago. I was sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden, everybody was starting to get up. And I was like, where's everybody going? And someone said, what do you mean? There's a town hall. You're not invited? And I was like, that's weird. A town hall? So I was like, okay, let me join my colleagues. I started walking with them towards the area where the town hall is. And then a woman stopped me at the door and said, nope, you're not invited to this, and closed the door behind her. I was shocked. The office is empty. I'm there by myself. I was waiting for 15 minutes. And 15 minutes later, everybody came out of that room and started packing their bags, starting putting things in boxes. What was that? What did I miss? And then someone that I didn't even know came and told me, there's been a layoff. You weren't in the room? Layoff? Layoff? Am I laid off? Why wasn't I in the room? Was I forgotten? 2 months later, I was head of innovation and research at AOL, a Verizon company. I was in the room with the most innovative brands in the world. I had access to things that were still top secret. We were working on patents. I had over 60 interns in my APM program. And we were actually working with several brands on their first launch of their products, where we would put our product on their launch. I was having my dream job. One day, I was walking around the office, and I saw a group of my colleagues. They were all talking and buzzing. And I was like, hey, guys, how are you? I haven't seen you in the last several months. I'm excited to see you. We had this bond of everyone going through layoffs, and we started talking, and I was asking what they were doing. One of them was actually planning their farewell party. He was going to another workplace. Someone else was planning her 1-month vacation. It's a lot, you know. This layoff, these talks around instability, I just can't take it anymore. I need to take a month off. Another one was telling me that she's leaving her senior M&A position to go and work for another senior position at her dad's furniture company. He won't fire me, she said to me. All of this buzzing, I was asking, so what is everybody doing? And everybody was reassuring me they're super busy. I was like, this is exciting. What are you busy with? And then they told me, we actually don't know. It was such a mess. This got me to think about starting from scratch. So there's 3 types of people or reactions to us starting from scratch. The first one is the people who take change as trauma. Actually, as product managers, we love talking about data. 15% of people who go through change see it as trauma. And trauma in the workplace comes with anxiety, comes with inability to execute, inability to concentrate, and inability to really fit right back in. And this mode of post-trauma is actually coined as post-traumatic layoff disorder. And this mode is actually not just for those who get fired. This also happens for people who stay on the job, and it's called survivor syndrome. 15%. Imagine your workplace with 15% of the people who are left behind unable to execute. The next group, it's actually the biggest group, are the resilient people. These are people who are able to accept change and then bounce back. They bounce back to exactly the same place that they were before that change and are okay. Sorry. The third group are the interesting ones, and 25% of these people are actually experiencing something that is called post-traumatic growth. So just so you know, before we define this, just by the fact that you're here knowing about post-traumatic growth increases your chance of experiencing it. So welcome. So post-traumatic growth means that when you bounce back, you don't bounce back to the place that you were. You actually bounce back bigger, better. Don't we like that? Bigger, better means that you either experience connection to people, or you experience an understanding of a talent, or a superpower, or capability that you have. These are the people that you will see at work starting new initiatives, writing books, but also starting charities, communities, connecting with new people. These are the people who grow. And this is the group, 25% of them, that we want to join. So starting from scratch is actually a 6-step model. 6 steps that are built out of 3 steps that you actually need to own all the time. So while we'll learn about this today, you need to own this yesterday. So let's start. After you own the first 3 things that are actually enabling you to change, these are the things that actually help you to absorb whatever is happening, understand change is happening, and act well in that moment. The spark is where the change happens. That's where actually growth and opportunity is presented to you. And the spark can be both internal, saying, I'm kind of done in this role, or there's nowhere for me to grow from here, or something that is actually less pleasant, like having a manager that you don't feel that you can actually communicate with, work with, get an advancement, or learn from. There's also an external spark, and the external spark means that something is happening to you. Now, we'll talk about that mindset, but happening to you means layoffs, reorgs, manager changes, new peers joining the team, change in the organizational strategy. You need to be awake in order to identify those sparks, because spark means opportunity, an opportunity for growth. The growth will happen powered by the next 3 steps, which we will talk about as well, and actually practice just a little bit part of this. So 3 steps of change, supporting your ability to change. Spark is something that is important that you identify, and 3 next steps that will power your growth. You probably identify this picture. So every time I go through change, I go through this ritual of imagining my role model, the person that sits just a little bit far from me, not too much, but she is me after the change. Who is my role model? What does she know? What does she do? Who does she hang out with? Who's her network? Who does she learn from? What's next for her? And I don't just think about this. I put this in writing. And many of these steps, really, it's important that you give yourself time, take a notebook, and write it down. Because you know, as product managers, if it's not as a plan, we don't know where we're going. And actually, the original name from my book wasn't starting from scratch. It was actually planning your career like a product manager. And it's so important that us in the room, we know what it is. This is our roadmap. This is where we're going. And just that, like this little cat that looks in its mirror and actually identifies a lion, who is your lion? Who is you after that change? It's important to note that starting from scratch is not just from a new career or a new workplace. A new workplace is also a workplace that you no longer identify, because the strategy changed, management changed, your goals have changed, a reorg happened, your peers are different. Whatever the plans you had yesterday are now changed. So starting from scratch is something that you really need to own in order for you to really start well and start with a plan. Let's go through all the steps. So the first step is having a learning mindset, very much what you're doing now. Turning your learning mode on is important both for your current role, but also for the future one. The reason it's important for your current role is because it's really important that you keep up with innovations, with the market, with your customers. It's something that allows you to grow in your current role. It's very easy for us to start going into this execution mode once we get hired. And that's where we just go, and do the things we're hired to do. But it's important to set up time and learn. And learning doesn't mean just conferences and events. It means actually reading books, listening to podcasts, following thought leaders in your space, or in parallel spaces where you actually want to go. It's important to keep up with things, so register to newsletters. Go to events and meet other people. Ask them, who do they learn from? What is the last learning that they've gone through? Who are the other people they should meet? And extend your network. The second step is working on your resilience. So let's just start, first of all, understanding what resilience is, because it's a physical term. Resilience means that a substance is able to bounce back to its original stage. And the way you do that, just imagine, a stress ball where you squeeze it tight and then you let go, and then it bounces back to its original form. In the same way, we also have plants that we forgot to water, and then the next day, we water it, and then it comes back to life. That's resilience. So what powers you? And it's very individual, very individual. What makes you replenish all your resources? Is it time off? Is it time with family? Is it a spa day? Is it an off-the-grid vacation? Whatever it is, make sure that you identify what that is and you use it in order to regain your power. But also note when you need to use that tool. Because the workplace is not an easy place. We keep changing and needing to do things, so we get tired. And if we are tired, we are unable to identify opportunities. The third step is building your personal board of directors. Close your eyes. Imagine a red carpet moment. Who is there to clap for you? Who is there to be happy? Who is there to give you the advice that you need? Who is there that you consult with? Who is there that loves you unconditionally? Who is there to give you tough love? Who is the peer that you always ask for advice and they always know what to say? Who knows you in and out and is able to give you a trusted, honest opinion? These are your board of directors. So when the spark comes, that's when growth happens and opportunity. And the first thing you need to do is really plan the new you. Planning the new you means that you are asking a lot of questions. Who is that person? Who do they hang out with? What do they do? What do they know? What tools they use? Who's in their network? Who are their peers? Who are their employees? What do they know? A bunch of questions that you actually need to ask yourself. And you don't just ask yourself for a second, fill in that list of questions. And if you run out of questions, consult with your board of directors. What other questions they would ask in order to fill in that role model. And if you don't know to plan that role model, then imagine someone introducing you and saying, hey, this is Oz, this is what she does. Something that someone else would introduce you and you would be proud. And then work backwards. We're product managers. We know how to do it. For products, for features, we can do it for ourselves. So when you ask all these questions, also ask yourself, do I know this? And if I don't, then I actually am super honest about this, and I'm saying, no, I don't know. And that list is key. That list is gold because it actually drives you to the path that you want to go to. I know someone that did this list and was able to complete it in a few months. And I know others that did it in 2 years. They had a year plan. It doesn't matter if your list is short or your list is long. What matters is that this is where growth happens. The next step is actually working towards the new you. How do you actually close those gaps? Closing those gaps means turning your learning mode on, to read, to go to classes, to attend events, to network, to meet new people, to increase your network, to look for other people who do the job of the role model you're aspiring to be, and actually consulting with them, being honest about not knowing how to get there, and asking for advice. This is where your personal board of directors can really help. They're the people that are your professional crush or your peers, and they can come to you with advice about how you can really do this. The last step is packing your baggage. I cannot say this enough. Do not start a new job, whether it's in the same place or in a new, before you do this exercise. This exercise is actually a list, written one, that talks about everything that you were before this job and you are today. This brings you from a victim to a victor, because this is where you actually look at a list, again, write it down, of what you are now bigger and better at. What did you learn that you didn't know? What were you exposed to? Who are the people that increased in your network? What are the tools that you didn't know and now you do? What are the things you love doing and the next job has to include it? What are the things that you hate and your next job cannot include it? I hear of many boomerang employees that leave a company and then they come back because that list wasn't in place. They haven't identified what they loved and what they hated, and they weren't able to communicate it. When you have that list, it's a list that you can actually talk to your manager with and reinvent yourself in the workplace. You're actually able to properly articulate what you're good at, what you love doing, and what you don't like doing. Maybe they can offer help. But this will also be key to where you're looking for a new job. This list needs to adhere to that job description. Okay, now let's practice. So this list is cut off for a reason. It's actually double that. These are the questions that you should ask yourself when you're starting from scratch, when you're planning the new you. What type of education does my role model need to have? These are the courses, the events that you need to go and attend. Who are the people they need to meet? Who are their people in their network? What tools are needed in order to complete that job? Do you know how to use them? And then you fill in those list of questions, the one that you collected, the one that your personal board of directors help you collect. And then you break it down to characteristics. I need to learn X. I need to know Y. This is super important. I need to have someone specific in my network that I can consult with. Maybe I invite them for a virtual coffee or a real one, or meet them at an event, or attend their talk and attend the Q&A session. This list is what will bring you to the next you, to the new you. And that list is super exciting. Don't give it a few minutes. This list should be built in days and weeks after you consult with many more people. And don't be discouraged if every day you're actually adding more and more. This is the new you. This is investment in you. So really give it time and fill in those characteristics and make the list of who you are at the end of this. For everyone, be super honest. Do I have it? Yes or no? If yes, great. We'll talk about why it's great. If no, also great, because this is your plan. This is your roadmap. And then start checking these characteristics one by one. Celebrate every time that you do have it, because this is where your resilience will kick in. So think about the daily tasks, the weekly tasks, the monthly tasks, the things that would make that role excel. And if there's a specific job that you're targeting, then even use a job description. Make sure that you tick those boxes, go to a job description, copy that capability, and make sure that you know if you are a yes on that one or a no. And then we're going to work towards the new you. Working towards the new you talks about the what and the who. The what are the resources that you need to have, and the who are the people. And you have to grow together with people. No one does it alone successfully. Involve your personal board of directors. Expand it. Increase your network. Have someone that you can contact and call. When I got into a new industry, the first person I called was an ex-colleague that already did that change. I called her and I asked her, "How did you get started?" And she actually told me about a failed attempt that she had and what she learned. We learned together. She did it, I learned from her. And then she told me about the resources she's using, the people she knows. I started following them. And then from there, I started seeing what other people I'm exposed to. I increased my network. I started attending events. I met my first clients there. And the rest is history. So it's really important that you look at resources that are available to you. You can Google, you can listen to things, you can read books, you can buy courses, attend free courses. There's so many resources today. I actually start by looking at hashtags. I look at the hashtags that are relevant for the topic that I'm learning, and I'm seeing the whole ecosystem that that brings. I look for podcast, content, thought leaders. What do they say? Who do they hang out with? What do they read? What are the resources that they're talking about? What are the tips that they're providing? What experiences do they share? And I learn all the time. So this list, this exercise is important for you to do because you take all the no's that you had in your previous step, and what you do is you actually go one by one and you ask yourself, what do I need to learn? What skill am I still missing? Who do I need to meet? And who do I need to know? Don't be afraid to do these cold outreaches. These are something that are more and more accustomed. But when you do, make sure that you bring value as well. If you ask someone, you cold outreach to them and you ask them to meet with you, that's weird. But if you do research about them, what they do, their work, the last post that they did on LinkedIn, then you actually show real engagement. You show effort. I actually had someone ask to meet with me after she heard me on a podcast and she wanted to argue with me about a topic that I raised. I thought that's so thoughtful because not only that she listened, she actually has an opinion and she can extend my understanding of the topic. Not only did I meet with her, I introduced her to someone in my network and sent her a job offer that was actually put on my table. That's how networking is important. These are the people that you can take to your next job. These are the people that can be your advice. really important, involve both resources and people. Now this. I see you guys understand there's a lot of work to do. And I don't want you to worry. This is where growth happens. The longer the list that you have, that's where growth is happening. That is where you will be proud of who you are and what you learned. And it's also a cure for imposter syndrome. Who experienced that? When you have a written list and everything on that list is a yes, or everything that was a no was a yes, imagine how empowering that is. There's no way you can come to an interview, have a written list of all the things that you now own, all the things you now know, all the people that are now in your corner, and not ace it. There's no job you cannot grow into once you really own that list. So don't be afraid of it. This is a gift. And then lastly, what I really want you to know is that when there's a storm, when we don't know why this is happening to us, why all of this is such a turmoil, why is this so hard? This is your storm to own. And some storms come not because they're shaking your world. They're just clearing the path for the new you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Os. And I wanted to ask something of the audience. I want you to scream out loud, "Happy birthday, Libby," on 3. 1, 2, 3. I just learned before the chat that actually it's her daughter's birthday today. It was Libby. And I just wanted to kind of give her a little bit of keepsake on the recording. So.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we have Slido up in the screen. Again, you can jump on Slido. We're going to start answering some of those questions. You have a couple of minutes there. We can maybe go for the first one. I guess who do you learn from? I think it's from that part of the speech.
Yeah. So I'm an introvert, and it's really an effort for me to come and say, I don't know this, I don't know that. Can you help me with it? But once I have a target, once I know what I need to do, I'm hyper-focused on that task, and then I go and I look for that information. Because it's harder for me to do this networking, I actually learn first on my own. I Google, and I found that a lot of the mentors that I have today, they really appreciate the fact that I did this research first myself. So don't come with questions that you can Google is a really big tip. And then whatever the topic that you need to learn, whatever it is that is on that list that I've created, is something that will help you find the people that you need to learn from. So for example, when I needed to write a book, I was looking for authors in my network. And just like I do in a feature, in a new market, in a new industry, when I join a new company, I looked for the person who can actually give me sound advice that will be open to my questions, and I ask for a very short time. I come with 2, 3 questions, and if I see that the conversation is okay and it goes well, then I ask the rest of the questions. So the who is really dependent on what I need to learn. And some of them are people that I know and is in my network, and some of them are people that I don't know, and then I either ask for an introduction or I explain to them why I came there. And I found that people are super open when you come and explain what are the efforts that you actually did before that you came to the table, and ask them for their time, and then they become really generous. So so that's the answer to this question. I just saw the new one. Which is funny. Yeah. You
But
can
before
open
we
your
go
eyes.
to that one, would you suggest to do it a lot more asynchronous, like over email or chat, or in person?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. So it did happen to me once that someone said, I don't really have the time. Will you email me your questions? And I found that amazing. And that's when I actually started having those questions in writing. And then I'm like, okay, these are the most important 3 that I'll try and grab their attention, and these are the rest. And in my book, I actually talk about that you can come with a list of questions, and if the conversation went well, you can email them back and say, hey, thank you for your time. Really important to thank them for their time. Follow up if their advice helped. That's also another really important answer. But also, what I do is either send it to them on email, or I get on a call, on like a Zoom coffee. A lot of people are really open to that. Or I attend an event, or I follow their social and I attend their talk, and then I ask my questions in the Q&A. So there's no right or wrong, as long as you come super prepared and you don't ask things that you can Google.
Thank you for the answers. All right, so on to the next one. Can I open my eyes now?
You can, yeah. But really important to do this exercise. A lot of people tell me, oh, I don't have a personal board of directors, and I doubt that's true. I really think that if you put yourself in that mindset, in that close your eyes moment, there are people. It is important to know that the personal board of directors are not your family and friends.
So it's not my mom?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's okay that your mom will be there if you really need like a pickup, or that your partner. My partner is super open with me, and actually when, I don't do the right thing, he tells me. But really, I think that you need to find that balance of both the people that pick you up as well as the people that will give you honest advice. I, a lot of the time, try that would be my ex-boss, because they know my performance when I'm good, my performance when I'm not as successful, and they're able to say, oh, did you notice? Now you just went into that, part where you don't perform well. So either peers or ex-bosses are ideal. That's why when you're in the workplace, don't just work with the team that you're on. Really open yourself to other roles. Open yourself to other teams that are affected by your work, even if it's not directly. These people are able to show you how you show up and really give you that sound advice. But not friends, not just friends.
Yes, critical feedback is necessary, yeah. My mom does give me critical feedback, but, All right, so the next question. Can you suggest a few other books that you love in that topic, in this topic?
In this topic?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in starting from scratch?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jump by Kim Perrell is one of them. There's another book by Lisa Gable that talks about organizations that start from scratch. Lisa Gable actually is a reviewer of my book, and I was super honored to meet with her face to face. I cold outreached her, told her that her book is something that I envision myself being sold as her book and my book together. So I outreached to her, and we talked about starting from scratch and about how organizations behave when they start from scratch. And so she was kind enough both to review my book, but also we kind of double tap on how organizations change and how people change together. So 2 books in my space.
Thank you. The next question is, how do traumatic experiences strengthen imposter syndrome?
So I can say that I'm not sure I experience imposter syndrome, by the way. Not everybody does. I have this adrenaline of excitement from something new, and I think that I'm hyper-focused on that and less focused on, will I really perform? But what I did find that I do is I actually am able to explain to myself things that I went through and that worked out. So if you go through trauma, if you go through a bad experience at work and you overcame it, and that's why that exercise of packing your baggage is so important, because you're able to actually go and say, these are the things that happened to me, and this is how I reacted and how I grew. But now it didn't happen to me. I was actually there. I was in that room. I was in that moment, and that's how I grew, and that's what I gained. So that exercise moves you from that trauma to actually, I was there, I was present, I overcame it, and now I'm going to the next thing.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful, kind of just writing it down,
Yeah.
processing it to be able to then move from there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like taking ownership of that and actually not saying, oh, the organization changed or they made a decision. No, you were there. You were there. So what are the things that you didn't know before and now you do? And now you can use it to your next job. It also, what I find is that it helps me in interviews. When they talk to me, and I went through organizations that did major layoffs. And if you look at my CV, I have several companies that were in the news. So really, some hiring managers or recruiters are asking me about that, and I'm able to articulate what I learned from that situation, and I come bigger and better from that experience versus saying, oh, she was part of that drama. It's actually, I was there, I know what I learned, I know what I took from it, and it was a drama, but it got nothing to do with me. This is how I grew from it.
Thank you. Next question. How do you not look like you're standing on top of other shoulders while trying to do this?
I think by being kind, and I think that kindness is, it's a little bit of a woo-woo word, but I really think that if you are able to thank the people who you are on their shoulders and actually update them, then that matters. I actually had someone outreach to me, and she was she wanted to be on the role in a company that I worked for, and she said, hey, can you actually come and meet with me and tell me about this role? And I was like, wow, she can actually be perfect for this job, and she will be my peer, so I can actually get a chance to interview my peer first. I met with her, we talked about it, and then I sent her off, I want to say, and then she was gone. 2 months later, I go to the cafeteria and I see someone that I know. I was like, oh, I know her. That's weird. And then she came to me and she says, hey, I got the job. And I was like, really? That's how I know? That was really, really an ungrateful moment. Like, for me to come, give you my time, and then you just show up at work versus you telling me, hey, you were part of my journey, thank you. Whatever, it's possible that I didn't help her. That's okay. But I was there. I was there in that moment, and I think that going back to the people who give you advice, give you their time, and updating them, if it worked, if it didn't, what is happening to you, then that really helps you both not feel that you're overstepping or taking too much from other people, but you're actually part of their journey. I love being updated by other people who tell me, I heard you speak and now I changed. I heard, I came and I met you and I did what you told me. Or it didn't work. I'm going back to my previous employer. That happened as well. But, just the fact that you're in the know with other people's lives, I think that they don't feel that you're on top of them, but also you don't feel that you're overdoing it.
I really like that. I think showing gratitude and paying that forward is very important. And yeah, it kind of self-serving, right? So as you receive it and you give it, and you basically can give it to others, and it just keeps growing. So that's a really powerful thing. Next question we have here. Can you recommend some podcasts for growth, as you mentioned a couple of times?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. So first of all, I really listen to a lot of podcasts in our industry. There's one that's by product-led growth that I really, really like. I actually listen to podcasts based on what I need to learn. So I actually search in the podcast store. I search for specific keywords, and it gives me podcasts that I need to listen to. So nothing specifically comes to mind right now, but it's something that I actually change. I don't necessarily listen to a specific podcast and listen to all of its episodes. What I do is I pick a specific topic that I want to learn, and then I go after that specific episode. And specifically, for example, someone actually told me in one of my talks, they talked about something that is called manifesting. And manifesting to me sounded like something that is a little bit too spiritual, and I didn't want to, it's less, my vibe. So I actually started learning about what manifesting is, and I learned actually that there's action around manifesting. So manifesting is really saying every day what you want to be, and the idea is that you bring positivity to your mind, and just by being positive, you're open to change, and that kind of actually really resonated with my work right now. So I started learning about manifesting, and I came across so many other podcasts that actually talk about that, podcasts that talk about chatter, that bad conversations we have into our mind that we need to shut down. So really there's a lot of content that is around starting from scratch, around self-reinvention, about new plans, new careers. So just search the keyword and you'll find great podcasts.
I do exactly the same thing. It's very interesting to find out many content, especially relevant today content on the different topics. And yeah, having that list of closing those gaps really kind of just, I don't know, those rabbit holes I go down and to try to close those gaps are amazing for podcasts.
And I cannot say enough about newsletters. Newsletters is actually another format that I like because it comes to my inbox, and I find myself really, even if I forget to schedule time, it's actually a reminder for me to just go into that learning mode for a second about a topic that I care about. So I make sure that I subscribe, and then I give myself some time to go through that content as well. So
that triggering effect.
Yeah.
I like that, yes.
Yeah.
Next question we have here, do you have mentors, coaches?
Of course, not one. I actually have, one of my mentors actually also wrote the foreword for my book because I felt it will be a closure, is my mentor since I was 14 years old. And what's amazing is we are still there's kind of like a relationship that, we're not friends, although I know him for many, many years. And he's been my advisor of starting from scratch for many years. He's been part of this journey. But, mentors, some of my mentors come and go. Most of the mentors I have is actually from the places that I used to work for. So ex-colleagues or peers, even if I leave the company, I go back and I ask for feedback from peers and from ex-managers or ex-peers of my manager. How did I show up? What was what was good about working with me? What was less good about working with me? And I take that feedback and I grow. About coach, yes, I also have a coach. I'm part of a coaching group. So absolutely. I both have the mentors that are free, but also for areas that I think that I need to straighten up, then I take, paid coach that will have a lot of time for me, and I work on what I need to improve.
Perfect. And maybe just one last question before we wrap up. I'll choose maybe this one around, do you have a time frame for executing on starting from scratch plan? Is it like a first day type framework? Do you have like a 90-day kind of thing?
Yeah. Actually, what I really, I have these spidey senses that, when change is happening. When you get that email that someone new came to the organization and everybody says, congratulations, congratulations, and moves on, and then what you're busy with is, how do I get off that list? Don't. Think about how that person joined your organization. What is their experience? What did they come to do? What could be their plan? How is that affecting your job, your manager's job? And really make sure that you connect with them. Make sure that you learn. Make sure that you're open to growth and change. Maybe your role is growing by that change. So I think that there's no right or wrong. It's either when I'm on the job or when I start something from zero, when I apply for a new job. That learning mindset needs to constantly be on, because it can help you both in your current role as well as if you want to grow into something else. But I also have a role model, who I want to be in, I don't know, a year time, 2 years time, maybe I can do it before. And I talk about that role model. And me talking about that role model actually helps the people that know me help. You'll be super surprised how many people came to me and said, remember what you told me? Here's Sarah. And Sarah can really give you some tips or advice, or can introduce you to someone. People love to be part of someone else's success. So both have a role model, but also have some steps to move in, and there's no better time than today.
And I think that's a really good way to kind of end. So please, round of applause again for Oz.
Thank you.